This is the XDJ-AN, a new entry-level 2-channel standalone unit from AlphaTheta. It replaces the XDJ-RR in that company's range with a thoroughly modern look, feel and set of features. In this review and demo, I'm going to talk you through all of that. I'm going to give you a tour of the unit. I'm also going to give you my pros and cons and compare it to the competition. By the end, you'll be very sure if this is something that you want to go for. Now, how should you think of this? It's a replacement for the RR for sure, but you could also look at it as the standalone version of this, the DDJ Flex 4, because the build quality is quite similar. It's clearly a consumer device. The jog wheels and the short throw pitch control, the layout of the mixer are all very, very similar on here. However, that's not a bad thing. The DDJ Flex 4 is a very popular unit and we recommend it all the time. And this does look and feel very much like the standalone version of it. So obviously it gets a screen, quite a bright screen, quite a nice screen. It is also slightly raised, which is more than most of the competition for this unit do. Most of them have a flat screen. We'll get onto the competition a little bit later on. Now, it works with the DJM-REC app, which is a very popular app for recording and streaming. And so that's a first for a all-in-one standalone unit. That's generally worked only with their higher end club gear. It works with all the major streaming services, so Beatport, Tidal, Apple Music, and also Spotify on the way. That said, I'm still struggling to log into them on here, even though they're logged in on my software over there. Not really sure why, something I will iron out before we record our training tutorial and video manual, which is going to be coming in the coming weeks, about a 2-hour deep dive into this. Do watch out for that if you're thinking of getting one, or if you've ordered one and you're waiting for it, or if you've got one and you're scratching your head. They're very popular. So we'll be recording that as soon as we've got our head around a few of the little niggles we're having with this pre-launch unit and with its early firmware. All right, what else does it promise? Well, you can use it as a controller by plugging in around the back, not only your laptop, but also your iPad or iPhone running Algorithms DJ or the Rekordbox app, and presumably for more of the features of Algorithms DJ will both require a subscription. But that gives you the chance of using your phone as well as using your laptop, which also then includes Serato. Again, you'd need to pay for Serato DJ Pro or Suite if you want all of the features. That only unlocks Serato Lite out of the box. It's got Bluetooth input, which you can route to either of the 2 channels. Also Bluetooth output, not so good for DJing because of latency, but certainly would be useful for just playing background music, which it can do. It can play through continuously a playlist. You can record directly to the USB plugged in around the back if you don't want to use, or you can't use because you're an Android user, the DJM-REC app for doing that. And you can even pair it with the Sonic Link ultra low latency wireless headphones, although at nearly £500 against a unit that costs around £1,000, you're probably going to end up waiting until they launch a cheaper version of those headphones before you do that. All right, let's have a little tour of the screen. So as you can see from the size of my hand, it's quite a small screen, but it's bright, reasonably responsive. It's obviously a touch screen. A lot of the controls are on here. So I pressed the mixer settings button to get to that screen that I brought up to show you these things here, the Bluetooth and the USB. This is also where you can adjust the microphone EQ. There is one microphone socket around the back. And it's also where you can change the other EQ settings. So for instance, in here, we've got the ISO EQ, which is full cut, or more gentle EQ for the low, mid and highs, and you've got the channel fader curve, cross fader curve as well. Here's your controls for Sonic Link, headphone split, including mono split. This here is a little master meter. So despite the fact that the metering down the middle here is only for the cued inputs, it's pre-fade listen metering, you do have a master meter up there, which is just a nice little touch on this screen here. So while we're on the screen, let's get out of the mixer settings and go into the deck settings. So again, we've got a load of stuff here that is needing the touchscreen to access, and some people will be okay with that, others maybe not. You've got slip mode, quantize, vinyl mode on and off here. Memory cues have now been demoted to the screen only, the kind of old school legacy way of doing cues and loops on the unit. Master tempo on and off, unfortunately there's no key sync and therefore no manual key change and therefore no fuzzy key mixing, which I think is a bit of a shame. The kind of people that are going to be buying this unit, I think, are the kind of rich kids who want to do those Instagram mashups, who want to be able to change the key and make things fit and do stuff that you can record and put on a reel. And it's a bit limiting not having that. So again, there's also no stems, we'll get onto that, and there's no sampler on here as well. So it hasn't got those features that you might expect on a modern unit in the software. Let's go back to here then. So you can see we've got Smart Cue, Gate Cue and Auto Cue. These are all the standard features that are in this platform. Of course, you can move the waveform current position to down the middle or left, so you can see more or less of what's coming on the track. Quantize, vinyl speed, which is just the speed of starting and stopping the track. So this is all the stuff that you're most likely to want in the main settings. The main settings can always be accessed from up here in the utility menu. But to be honest with you, nearly everything in here is available in the two settings here, mixer and deck settings. So once you've selected a source, you're going to be browsing into your library. I'm connecting to the laptop here, and here are my songs. So this is very familiar, of course, if you're used to this software. You've got preview, so you can listen in your headphones without loading a track down here. You can choose what you have displayed down here. So this is set to default, but I could choose one of the other options there as well for viewing this. And then we've got BPM and key, and you can sort by all of these things as well. Tag list is the prepare window. Playlists can be saved on the banks, which can also then be synced to the cloud. So anything else that has got playlist shortcuts, they'll be available in that. That's something new. And it's got the usual search features here with a keyboard that pops up so you can search for stuff. I'll go into more detail about all of these, as I say, in the full video that'll go on for nearly 2 hours. They normally do anyway, but everything you'd expect is present and correct there. Let's have a look at the way the effects work on here then, because it's a standalone unit, so it needs to have hardware effects. Let's get a track loaded. So to load a track, you select the track you want using the usual up and down using the encoder here. So I'm going down the artist, album, track, key, playlist, history, matching tracks. That's where you can set your matching criteria to pull up tracks in similar keys and BPMs and so on. So I'm selecting that there. One tap of that will bring me into this window here, where I can now move to the actual track I want. You can see these green ones are ones I've already played. When I want to load a track, I press that, and then I turn the knob left or right to load it to 1 or 2. There are no physical buttons to load to decks 1 or 2. That track is now loaded. As with most controllers in this range, if I do this, then it will zoom in and out, although I can't zoom in and out with my fingers on this particular one. So I can hit the play button then, and we are off. Okay, so the color effects are filtered by default. But you can change the color effect by tapping on the screen and choosing another one. So they also have the noise effect. The sweep effect. Crush, the 8-bit kind of lo-fi effect. Bass and dub echo, kind of reverb echo effects. Adding that to either the low or high frequencies. As with all of these, they give you a different one left and right, and they give you a click in the middle, which is just back to normal, and dub echo. All right then, so we've also got here the beat effects. Now there's only 3 here. There's a reverb, an echo and a flanger. You can set it to the master 1 or 2, and then the beat is what you adjust by pressing this up and down. And you can see here, we see the effect that we've got set, and we see how many beats or fractions of a beat it's going to take to cycle through the effect. So if we want a 2-beat flanger, then that is what I would select to do that. This is giving me more or less of the effect. The reverb. And the echo. All pretty solid. Let's move on and take a look at the decks themselves then. And so they are pretty simple, pretty much what you have already seen. You've got your hot cues across the top. There's 8 hot cues. You can also save to these slots. You just hit them there and they'll all appear on the screen. I've just done them all in the same place. You can shift and turn them all off like that. You can also save loops. So if I use the beat encoder to put a loop there, I can save that to that slot there. Now a loop will show on the screen as an orange. So I've got hot cue A is actually a loop and that's orange. If I just set a normal hot cue somewhere, then that will show on the screen in a green color. So if I get out of that loop there, set a normal hot cue somewhere entirely different there, that will show on the screen as a green color. So you can see the difference between the two. However, rather sadly, you only get that green orange differentiation on the screen. You don't get it on the actual hot cue buttons itself. These A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H are always lit in orange on here. So you can't immediately tell whether the hot cue you're tapping on a track is a loop or whether it's a cue, which I think is a miss. And that's it for your pad modes. If you're using DJ software, it gives you options on the screen to select all the normal pad modes that you'd normally get in your DJ software on those pads. You choose on the screen which one you want. So therefore, if you've got key sync or if you've got slicer or all those things you're used to on your software, you can still access them just fine. It's just that on this unit itself, standalone, you only get hot cues and loops on here. You can get loop, roll and so on, of course, by combining with functions such as slip. And so to turn slip mode on a deck, you tap the slip button there, which you might think is a little bit fiddly, and indeed it is. There you go, slip mode is on deck 1, slip mode is on deck 2. But more interestingly, that's the only place you've got the sync button as well, there. So you really got to be happy with using the touchscreen for a lot of things on this unit. Not an awful lot more to tell you about. Again, these are kind of like the Flex 4, the Q and the play pause here. Your shift buttons are there for your modifiers. You've got Q to the master and 1 and 2. At the top here, the microphone level with a push to talk or a talk over button there. And you've got your master level over here. Why no booth level? Because despite having 2 sets of outputs around the back, the balanced XLRs and the unbalanced master, that by the way is a balanced TRS microphone input. Despite having those things there, these are all one output. These are both master output. Not really a deal breaker because you can always run these ones off to a PA system and these to some local speakers, but the local speakers would need their own volume control on them in order to have that effective volume control on a booth output. It would have been nice to see a booth output, I think, but hey, it would also have been nice to see some kind of auxiliary or external input. The only input you've got there is the Bluetooth one that I showed you on the screen. At least you get to run all your effects across your Bluetooth input, so it's not all bad. Let's carry on around the back then. So we've got 3 USBs. This USB here is power. It needs PD power. They do give you a power brick with the unit to power that, but any PD power will do. Then along here we have the computer or tablet. That's what this lead here is for. And the standard USB input for your music if you want to do it the old way. However, it is USB-C, so times are changing. I think this is a little bit vulnerable. It's just sticking out there at the back. I don't really know why they didn't put it on the top here, which I think would have made more sense. Or if not, then tucked underneath here somewhere. There's a big area underneath here where it would have been a lot more secure to have that USB-C instead of having it kind of dangling a bit exposed out of the back there. But hey, let's talk pluses and minuses then. The cloud on this has the potential to be great. I really want their cloud to work. I think the idea of having your library in the cloud on Dropbox or on Google Drive is a good one. Having your stuff syncing from your phone to your laptop to your standalone units makes sense, but I just don't think it's there yet. It's more confusing than it has to be, and it frequently doesn't work in my experience. So that's something they need to work on the software side of things. It's got great flexibility, genuine flexibility. You know, you've got your streaming services. Hopefully they'll bring Spotify as they promised. You've got Bluetooth. You can use it as a laptop controller. You can use it as an iPhone or iPad controller, not only with their own Rekordbox, but with Algorithms DJ. I've not tested a lot of this yet, of course. However, this is all what's promised. So we're going to have to take it from them that it's going to work. And it fills a real gap for a smaller, lighter, less over engineered unit that will appeal more to the more casual user who does want standalone, right? And the ability to do everything without having to go anywhere near a laptop if you want. I didn't mention, but you can make playlists on here, which also sync to the cloud when it works. So be able to make, edit and use playlists on the unit itself does kind of make sense. I just feel like they're rushing towards the promised land here, but a lot of it is still full of little kinks that need ironing out. Things I don't like, I've already mentioned. There's no stems, there's no key shifting, there's no sampler, there's no auxiliary input. You cannot use the DJM-REC app for streaming services. I know why, you know why. It's all about licensing, but it is going to disappoint people who want to do that. You would be recording the old-fashioned way. For me, there's just a little bit of over-reliance on this screen. Yes, it's nice and clean. Yes, there's not an awful lot on here. You know, we've got big blank areas, and I like that. That's fine. However, you're going to need to be very happy with tapping the screen to do things. And I've already mentioned the limited support for Android users, which is a bit of a shame, but it's harder to get stuff to work on Android than on iOS. It's just how it is. Let's compare this to the obvious competitors out there, both within this range and from the other big system, which is Engine DJ for standalones. So within the range, I have this here, the Omnis Duo. Now, the Omnis Duo is a professional unit. It's designed as a second controller for mobile and event DJs and so on. Far more flexibility around the back, and it's just heavier, better built. Altogether, a step up. Doesn't actually cost an awful lot more than this unit here, but it's aimed at a different market. In some ways this is more limited, but in other ways this is a bit of a workhorse, where this is kind of pushing new boundaries for people who don't need something that can just do the same thing day after day, which is what the Omnis Duo is designed for. So one of them is professional, one of them is kind of more designed. Coming in at quite a lot less is the Mixstream Pro Go, which is the first unit we're talking about in Engine DJ's ecosystem. So we're not going to go too much into the difference between Engine DJ and the software that all of the AlphaTheta stuff runs. We've done that over and over again elsewhere, but suffice to say, this software does an awful lot more, but you're not getting the same platform and experience when you move into the Pro DJ booth or when you move down to a Rekordbox controller, because this doesn't have its own DJ software at all. You can't plug in any Engine DJ controllers to a laptop because it doesn't exist or work that way. And when you go into a Pro DJ booth, you ain't going to find Engine DJ gear there. So this one here links all that together. This one here doesn't. It's always been the way. If you don't care about that, you get much, much more for your money with both the hardware and the software with any Engine DJ controller. Numark, Brain, Denon DJ, all the same. So for instance, sample player, for instance, stems. You also get key shifting as standard. Built-in speakers and battery on this particular unit costs a lot less. If you don't want the built-in battery, you can get another version of this that costs you a little bit less still, that doesn't have that. Another competitor, well, it would be the SC Live 2, which is the 2-channel version. The SC Live 4, the 4-channel version of that, did very well. The 2-channel version of that, I don't think you can get it anymore, so obviously people went for the 4-channel one. It doesn't cost any more than this. It's got 4 full channels and a lot more features than this has. Again, the software is streets ahead at the moment. So how do we sum this up? If you are someone who wants a Rekordbox unit that works with Rekordbox in every way you can imagine, and you're prepared to grapple with the Rekordbox cloud, which can only improve, so I'm an optimist, then I think this is pretty compelling. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, it's a lot of fun to use. It works well, it's smooth, it's just fun to DJ on. And so for the pure usability point of view, as long as you settle on the way you want to use it, I think it's great. All those other ways of using it that I talked about are there. They're there and ready for you to experiment with when you want to. And most of them are going to work just fine, but you are going to find limitations, you are going to find niggles, and it's mainly around the cloud and the software. Right here, right now, I think this is a great unit. If you want to get into standalone DJing and you don't want to spend the money they're asking for their higher end gear, this is appreciably cheaper, although not as cheap as some of that other gear I just mentioned. Will it do well? That's the question. I actually thought this one would be really popular. I really liked this. And as far as I can tell from our students, not many people bought the thing. This one here, it looks and feels a bit more like the SC Live 2 and SC Live 4 from Denon DJ, which have, as far as I can tell, certainly the 4, done pretty well. It's got the same slope screen, it's got the same sized screen as well, and it's just got that same kind of just what you need vibe about it that doesn't scare people off. So we'll see. I suspect it will. Overall, I like it. I think it's pretty good. It's the AlphaTheta XDJ-AN. You can read the full version of this review over on the Digital DJ Tips website, and watch out for our video manual and training tutorial for this very unit coming soon. So 2 things left. What do you think of it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Has it got stuff on you weren't expecting? Is it missing stuff that you were expecting? Do let me know in the comments. And secondly, if you want the best training that you can get for your DJ equipment, whatever it is, then come and check out All Access. With over 250 deep dives, mini lessons, mixed deconstructions, and more on top of our 24 world-class courses from names such as DJ Jazzy Jeff, Ferry Corsten, James Hype, Layback Luke, and many more. It is hands down the best DJ training from anywhere that you can get. Scan the QR code, take a look. There's many ways that you can grab All Access nowadays, and we'd love to have you as our latest student. Well, that's it from me here. Until next time, get good, get out there, make the moments, and we'll see you very soon. Bye for now.